1967, the year the Saints came into existence. They have won one playoff game in that time. And on Saturday night, the Superdome will host the first ever divisional round game. They will welcome the Eagles. You're taking a look at the scoreboard from the time these two teams played earlier in the season as the Saints kicked a game-winning field goal to beat the Eagles and win 27-24. As we say hello on the Visa NFL Preview, alongside NFL.com's Pat Kerwin, I'm Jason Horowitz. And Pat, anything different this time around from that game other than the fact Jeff Garcia is the quarterback?
Yeah, there are a lot of things different with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll touch on a couple of them here. We'll get into them later. Number one, Marty Morningwig's calling the plays. When they played last time, it was 19 run and 32 pass by Andy Reid, who's pass happy and likes to throw the ball. Marty Morningwig will not do that. Last time they played, Eagles were down 10-0 right away. Passing time. Marty Morningwig will stick with the run because he's going against a defense that gives up almost 5 yards a carry.
Yes, he is, but it was the most impressive thing about that game to me was the last drive of that game. The Saints went 16 plays, 72 yards, and took up nearly 8.5 minutes to win that game, meaning the Eagles' defense couldn't get off the field.
Well, it's a great point, and I'll back you up because the first two drives of the game, the Saints had an 11-play drive and a 9-play drive. 20 plays the first two possessions of the game and came out of it with 10 points. So I went back and looked at that famous Jim Johnson fire zone blitz defense. No sacks. They were unable to get to Drew Brees, and he threw the ball 37 times. Then I went back and looked at the pressures. The 4 pressures they had were from defensive linemen, none from the secondary. Last month of this season, Jim Johnson's revved it up again. A sack and 2 pressures per game in the last month are coming from the secondary, so I think the scheme will be different. Another point that'll make this Eagle thing a little different.
All right, let's take a look at the offensive line that'll face that Jim Johnson defense. There you see it. These guys have been together basically all season, and it's not really the best of offensive linemen as far as individuals go. Right. As a unit, though, they've come together to really help Reggie Bush and Deuce McAllister. And for the Saints, you know, none of their skill position guys, including Bush and McAllister, have won a playoff game other than Joe Horn, who may not even play in this game. He is questionable. How does that affect this game?
Well, I do think that the playoffs affect these young players. You've got 3 rookies on the Saints that are going in their first playoff game period, let alone playoff games they lost, like some of the veterans. You've got guys like Jahari Evans, big responsibility inside protecting the pocket. I think Reggie Bush will respond to it. Marquise Colston, the famous 7th-round pick, is going to have a big day. Playoff football changes things for players. The Eagles come into this game with a lot of playoff experience. And, I think that's going to have a say in this game as it goes on.
All right, you talked about the defense before, so we'll get back to that in a little bit. But let's talk on the offense here on the side. Jeff Garcia has taken over. You talked about Marty Morningwig. Let's take a look at his weapons right now. Right. You've got Reggie Brown, L.J. Smith, and Dante Stallworth going back to New Orleans. How do you think they'll play out against the Saints defense?
Let's remind everybody that Dante Stallworth did not play in the game earlier this year with 27-24 New Orleans win. He didn't play. He had a very big play last week. He's almost 19 yards a catch. He's a big play strike player. And the New Orleans Saints' best receiver that day was Joe Horn, 6 catches, 110 yards. I don't believe Joe's going to play in this game. Trying to get him ready. The word I got is he will not be ready.
All right, back to the Eagles' defense here. Lito Shepherd's not going to play. How does that pan
out?
No,
they can move Roderick Hood over to corner. They're able to do that, and they can bring in some nickel backs that are okay. They'll be fine. Look, replacing Lito Shepherd, I'm not going to tell you it's going to look as good, but they can mask that a little bit. And I think that's another reason we'll see more fire zone blitzes from Jim.
All right, that Superdome is going to be rocking come Saturday night. It is a Saturday night game in New Orleans. Pick your winner.
You know, back and forth on this one, and my heart wants to take the Saints. But I just think the Eagles, the way they're playing, I talked to a number of Eagle players this week, Stallworth being one of them, there is a competitive fire going on. I'll make the analogy, this year's Eagle team has the same mindset of last year's Steeler team. They fear nothing. They're going to go down there. This noise is not going to rock and roll those guys. Jeff Garcia takes them to a very close win.
I think you're going to see a very similar atmosphere to the game that was the first game at the Superdome this year after post-Hurricane Katrina, against the Falcons.
Absolutely.
A very similar atmosphere. This team is going to be fired up, and I'll take the Saints, and I'll take the Saints in a...
And trust me, I want to take the Saints.
I'll take the Saints in a plus 7-point victory. That's what I'll take the Saints.
And I'll take that.
All right, there you go. For more on this game or any other in the divisional round, be sure to stay here, right here on CBS Sports Line. For Pat Kerwin, I'm Jason Horowitz. Folks, enjoy the football. It should be very good to watch. Take care.